If Grug got stung by a bee, Grug was just dead. You are Grug. You wake up. The sun warm. You sniff the air. Something sweet? You wander, chewing on some berries. Suddenly, zap. Your finger throbs. A tiny, striped beast flies away, leaving a barb. You think, Grug still has 9 other fingers. But then your throat starts to itch. Your tongue feels thick. Your friends laugh. Grug is making a funny face. But your face is not funny. It is swelling. This was the original situationship. 1 minute you're vibing with nature, the next, nature is literally trying to choke you out. Because back in the day, a simple allergy wasn't just inconvenient. It was a one-way ticket to the afterlife. Imagine this: Grug loves nuts. Grug eats nuts. Grug's throat closes tighter than a clam at a rock concert. No EpiPen. No Benadryl. No ambulance that magically appears when you dial 999. Your only option was, well, there wasn't one. You just stopped being Grug. Here's the crazy part. This isn't just about bees or nuts. Grug could be allergic to anything. Pollen from that new, funky flower? Game over. The fur of that saber-toothed tiger Grug just wrestled for bragging rights? Game over. The wild berries that looked exactly like the good ones but actually triggered Grug's weird immune system? Definitely game over. It was like living in a constant game of Russian roulette, but with every plant, every animal, and every mouthful of food. Your immune system was either your best friend or your deadliest enemy. And you had no idea which. So, what happened to these allergic Grugs? They disappeared. Not in a dramatic, epic battle way. More in a quiet, Grug just couldn't breathe one Tuesday way. If your genetics made you super sensitive to a common environmental trigger, those genes just didn't get passed on. It was natural selection's most brutal editing session. No Grug with a severe nut allergy ever got to complain about inflation or their hunting partners not pulling their weight. Their story ended with a puffy face and silence. And it gets worse. Think about the modern equivalent. Your dating profile says, must love dogs. Grug's profile said, must not die from dog dander. Because if your body decided dog fur was a biotoxin, you couldn't just swipe left. You couldn't even be in the same cave as Fido. Which meant no cozy fireside cuddles. No shared mammoth bone chew toys. Just Grug, alone, slowly suffocating in a corner while everyone else bonded with the proto-puppy. Talk about social exclusion. Here are 5 ways Grug's allergies could send him to the big hunting ground in the sky. Number 1, the dreaded bee sting. You're out foraging. A bee buzzes. You swat it. It stings. In minutes, your windpipe is sealing itself like a bad canning job. Your cavemates are confused. They think you're just being dramatic. Grug is known for drama. But this isn't drama. This is the end. One tiny insect, less dangerous than a housefly to us, was a silent assassin. No one even knew what was happening. They just saw Grug turn blue. They probably thought Grug ate a bad blueberry. Number 2, food allergies. Imagine a world where every meal was a mystery box challenge, but the prize was not surviving. Grug finds a new root. Looks tasty. Chunks it down. 15 minutes later, Grug's stomach is doing backflips and his skin is erupting in hives. No Pepto-Bismol. No antihistamines. Just Grug, doubled over, hoping the discomfort stops before his guts decide to stage a full-blown rebellion. This was why ancient diets were often so limited. Grug ate what Grug knew. Trying new foods was like playing Russian roulette with your digestive system. Number 3, plant contact dermatitis. You're gathering leaves for bedding. You rub some on your arm. Oh, it burns. It itches. It swells into giant, painful blisters. Maybe it's poison ivy. Or maybe it's just the leaves from that pretty bush that Grug's body hates. The skin breaks. Infection sets in. Without antibiotics, that small rash quickly turns into a festering wound that can lead to sepsis. So, a simple scratch from a plant could send you off to meet your ancestors. Grug didn't have neosporin. Grug had dirt. Dirt is not an antibiotic. Grug's still mad about the mammoth that got away, but Grug would be madder about the itchy plant. Number 4, animal dander in hair. Grug needs warm clothes. Grug hunts a bear. Grug wears bear fur. But Grug's nose starts running. Grug's eyes water. Grug sneezes so much Grug almost alerts the next bear. This wasn't just annoying. Constant respiratory issues made you vulnerable. It made you a noisy hunter, which was bad. It made you feel weak, which was also bad. And it made you susceptible to more serious infections like pneumonia. So, if Grug was allergic to bear fur, Grug froze. Or Grug sneezed their way into a wolf's dinner. Pick your poison. Number 5, the most terrifying of all, anaphylactic shock. This is when your body goes into full meltdown mode. Swelling, difficulty breathing, a sudden drop in blood pressure. It's a rapid descent into oblivion. And it could be triggered by any of the above. A bee sting, a bite of a forbidden berry, even inhaling some particularly potent pollen. 1 minute you're a productive member of the tribe, helping drag back that gazelle. The next, you're just Grug, convulsing on the ground, your body fighting itself to death. No one understood why. It was just Grug's unlucky day. They probably just thought you were possessed by a grumpy spirit. This constant threat shaped human evolution. The allergic Grugs didn't survive to reproduce. Their genes for hyperreactive immune systems were weeded out. That's why severe, life-threatening allergies, while they exist today, aren't as common as they might have been in the prehistoric past. The allergic died. The non-allergic lived. Simple. Brutal. Effective. It's like the ultimate filter for roommates. If Grug couldn't share the cave without spontaneously combusting, Grug wasn't a good fit. Modern Grugs complain about someone leaving dishes in the sink. Ancient Grugs worried their roommate would accidentally kill them with a new kind of food. Talk about relationship goals. So, next time you pop an antihistamine for your seasonal allergies, spare a thought for Grug. Because Grug didn't have that option. Grug just had, well, a very bad day. And probably, a very short life. Think about it. We complain about our cell phone signal. Ancient Grug's biggest concern was if the air itself would kill him. We stress about our boss. Grug stressed about a tiny insect. Perspective, modern Grug. Perspective. Grug hopes you enjoyed learning about how easy it was to die back then. Subscribe so Grug can tell you more ways life was just awful. But it wasn't just the obvious triggers. Imagine the original bad gut feeling. Grug eats something, feels a bit off, but keeps going. Then the persistent low-level inflammation starts. A slow, grinding allergic reaction that weakens Grug over time. Grug is constantly fatigued. Grug's joints ache. Grug thinks Grug is just getting old at age 20. But it's actually Grug's immune system staging a prolonged protest against something Grug eats every single day. This kind of chronic, undiagnosed allergy was a death sentence by proxy. It made Grug slower. It made Grug less effective at hunting. It made Grug a liability during a group migration. Think of it as the ultimate job performance review where the consequence of underperforming isn't being fired, it's being left behind to become a saber-toothed tiger's lunch. No sick days for Grug. No doctor's note. Just a gradual fade into oblivion, mistaken for general weakness or bad luck. Your tribe sees you failing to pull your weight, not realizing your body is fighting a silent war. And speaking of bad luck, consider cross-reactivity. Modern science knows that if you're allergic to birch pollen, you might react to apples. If Grug was allergic to a specific tree's pollen, that meant Grug might also react to the fruit of that tree, or the sap, or even the wood when used for tools or fire. It was a minefield of interconnected sensitivities. Grug meticulously avoided one thing, only to be struck down by something seemingly unrelated. But Grug avoided the itchy bush. Grug might exclaim, moments before succumbing to a severe reaction from the berries that grew 10 feet away, sharing a similar protein structure. It was the ultimate betrayal by nature. This also meant Grug couldn't just be pickier about food. If Grug avoided every plant that ever made Grug's arm itch, Grug would starve. Survival meant taking risks, meant trying new things when resources were scarce. But every new thing was a lottery ticket, and if Grug held the losing number, Grug's ticket was quite literally punched. Grug didn't get to say, "I'll just have the gluten-free option." Grug had the eat it or starve option, and sometimes, eating it meant a quick goodbye. Here's another nightmare scenario: insect venom beyond just bees. Spiders, scorpions, even some ants in certain regions had venoms that could trigger allergic reactions. A bite from a specific spider might not be lethal to a non-allergic Grug. Just a nasty bite. But for an allergic Grug? That bite could send them into full anaphylaxis, far from any help. Imagine surviving a bear attack, only to be taken down by a bug smaller than your thumbnail. It was the ultimate anticlimax. Then there's the environmental factors. Dust. Mold. The spores from certain fungi. These microscopic irritants were everywhere. If Grug's immune system decided any of these were a major threat, Grug lived in a constant state of low-grade misery. Persistent coughs. Running nose. Watery eyes. Not just annoying, but debilitating. A chronic cough during a hunt? It scares away the prey. A runny nose during a cold snap? Makes Grug more susceptible to pneumonia. Living with constant allergies in a pre-antibiotic world wasn't just uncomfortable, it was a slow march towards reduced fitness and eventual death from secondary infections. Grug wasn't just sniffling, Grug was inviting disaster. And the lack of sanitation only magnified these risks. If Grug had an allergic reaction that resulted in skin lesions or open wounds, those wounds were immediately exposed to bacteria. No clean water. No antiseptic. Just dirt, animal droppings, and the general grime of prehistoric life. A minor allergic rash that developed into a secondary bacterial infection could easily become sepsis. A simple food allergy causing vomiting and diarrhea could lead to severe dehydration in an environment where clean water was often scarce. Grug didn't have the luxury of a sterile environment to recover. Grug's healing process was often just more ways to die. Consider the role of smoke. Grug needed fire. Fire was life. Warmth, cooking, protection from predators. But if Grug had a severe sensitivity to smoke from particular woods, Grug was caught between a rock and a hard place. Live outside the cave, exposed to elements and predators, or live inside, constantly battling a respiratory allergic reaction? The modern equivalent might be complaining about a smoky campfire. Ancient Grug had to choose between potential suffocation from smoke or freezing to death. This was the original no-good options dilemma. What about seasonal allergies, the bane of many modern Grugs? Pollen counts were off the charts year-round in many regions, depending on flora. If Grug had severe hay fever, Grug would be perpetually miserable during certain seasons. Constant sneezing, itching, difficulty breathing. This isn't just an annoyance, it impairs Grug's ability to see, to hear, to smell danger. A Grug incapacitated by pollen would make for an easy meal for a lurking predator. You couldn't just pop a Claritin and go about your day. You were a walking, sniffling beacon of vulnerability. The flowers might be pretty, but for allergic Grug, they were silent killers. And here's where Grug's genetics come into play again. If an allergic Grug somehow survived long enough to reproduce, Grug's offspring had a higher chance of inheriting those sensitivities. But as we saw, severe allergies were a major selective pressure. So, the lineages with strong allergic tendencies would simply die out. Imagine a family tree where every branch that had a strong allergic trait just ended. No descendants. No new Grugs to carry on the tradition of sneezing at every flower. It's why we have these allergies today, but they're not a universal death sentence. Our ancestors took care of that. Brutally. So, next time your throat feels a little scratchy, or you get a mild rash from something you ate, remember Grug. Grug didn't have the option to complain on social media. Grug didn't have a doctor to diagnose the problem. Grug just had the end. And probably a very confused tribe wondering why Grug suddenly stopped moving. We complain about food prices. Ancient Grug's grocery budget included the risk of immediate death. We argue about smart home devices. Grug argued with a deadly nut. We worry about our internet connection. Grug worried about his own connection to life itself. Grug hopes you now understand why modern medicine is good. Very good. Subscribe to Grug for more life lessons that will make you appreciate your couch.